Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving straight into a brand new explainer, and I've got to warn you, this one's a bit wild. We're going to uncover the absolutely mind-blowing similarities between a modern animated corporate comedy and, well, one of the most classic fairy tales of all time. Seriously, we're putting the Boss Baby right next to the Three Little Pigs. I know. It sounds like a completely bizarre pairing, right? But stick with me here because it is legitimately fascinating to see how these two completely unrelated stories are actually operating on the exact same wavelength. I mean, think about it. What could a corporate, suit-wearing, espresso-chugging baby and three little anthropomorphic pigs possibly teach us about surviving life's biggest challenges? Well, instead of just giving you a standard, boring recap of the plots, we're going to synthesize these two wildly different narratives. Why? To decode what is essentially the ultimate blueprint for survival. Because at their core, both of these stories are really about navigating massive, life-altering disruptions. They show us how to build defenses, how to adapt on the fly, and, most importantly, how to survive when it feels like the whole world is suddenly out to get you. So, let's set the stage and take a look at these two very different worlds. On one hand, we've got Tim and the Boss Baby dealing with a totally chaotic suburban mission. Their daily grind is all about corporate espionage, ticking clocks, some seriously intense sibling rivalry, and high-speed bike chases through the neighborhood. It's intense. But then, on the other hand, you have the three young pigs. They're venturing out into this huge, dangerous green forest, tasked with the most primitive need of all, finding shelter before a hungry wolf tracks them down. Now, physically, these environments could not look more different. Suburbia versus the wild forest. But that underlying intense pressure to survive, that is exactly the same. And here's the kicker. Both stories launch with this massive, irreversible disruption to a totally normal, comfortable childhood. For the pigs, it's their mother just flat out telling them, the time has come for you to go out and build your own houses. They're literally kicked out of the nest and forced to adapt immediately. For Tim, his disruption is a little brother showing up in a tailored suit, leading to that mind-bending realization, wait, the baby can talk? Just like that, boom, his peaceful life as an only child is completely shattered. Both sets of protagonists are tossed headfirst into these perilous new realities where, all of a sudden, nobody is safe. Now let's analyze the threat and talk about facing the big bad. In the fairy tale, the enemy is wonderfully simple, but honestly, incredibly terrifying. The big bad wolf is this primal, physical, totally relentless threat. He literally puffs his chest up like a giant balloon to blow down those straw and stick houses. He's basically hunger and destruction personified. And listen, a threat like that, it demands an immediate structural physical defense. You can't sit down and negotiate with a starving wolf. You just have to build a thick wall that he cannot break through. But then switch gears over to Boss Baby's world. The threats here are totally chaotic, super multi-layered, and deeply psychological. You've got the immediate, terrifying destruction of Tim's absolute favorite toy. You know, the whole hand over the tape, Timmy, or lamb gets it, rip, rip, rip situation. But it goes way beyond that. They're also dodging a killer babysitter whose big culinary secret is deep frying butter with a healthy dash of MSG. And looming over everything is Boss Baby's own existential dread. Without a special formula, he's facing the absolute horror of reverting into a normal, puking, pooping, helpless baby. It's a completely different brand of warfare. And to crank that tension up to 11, Boss Baby and Tim aren't just fighting enemies. They are fighting time. They have this agonizing, super strict limit of exactly 1 hour before their target's plane takes off. 1 hour. If they fail, Boss Baby gets fired, and Tim is stuck with a normal baby forever. Having a ticking clock like that forces rapid, incredibly high-stakes decisions, pushing both of them to their absolute physical and mental limits. So, how do they overcome this? Let's look at strategy, foundation, and the ultimate path to success. When we break down the Three Little Pigs, it gives us a perfectly clear look at how a successful strategy actually evolves. Step 1. That's the first pig's straw house. It's lazy, it's fast, and he basically just built it so he could go to sleep. Step 2 is the second pig's stick house. Okay, it's slightly better, but it's still fundamentally weak. Tossed together quickly just so he could go play. Taking those easy shortcuts leads to absolute disaster. The second pressure, meaning the wolf, shows up. It isn't until step 3, the third pig's strategy of laying down heavy, red bricks and mixing cement over days and days of labor, that long-term safety is finally guaranteed. The lesson here? Hard work is the absolute prerequisite for survival. And you know, Boss Baby highlights that exact same reality. Victory is never just handed to you. as he brilliantly tells Tim the path to success is not a straight line, Tumbleton, but rather a wild ride like a ship at sea. Surviving their mission means navigating a seriously turbulent ocean of challenges. Think about it. They have to tackle major physical hurdles, like Tim being forced to ride a bike without his training wheels, and conquering his own deep-seated self-doubt. They even have to purposefully get sent to the principal's office just to escape a literal school timeout box. It takes an immense amount of calculated, grueling effort. Which brilliantly illustrates how both of these narratives actually hinge on a massive strategic pivot. Both stories require the characters to completely abandon their lazy or selfish early tactics. The first two pigs, they had to ditch their collapsed houses and run for their lives to the third pig's strong foundation. Similarly, Tim and the Boss Babies started out literally at each other's throats, fighting over a cassette tape and trying to ruin one another. But their successful final strategy only emerges when they finally realize that, hey, divided we fall, together we stand. They had to stop fighting and build a well-prepared foundation of genuine teamwork. The real emotional climax of Boss Baby happens when the villain says, "I offered you the world. We could have been partners." And Boss Baby fires back with, "I've got something better than a partner. I have a brother." For Tim and Boss Baby, swallowing their pride and overcoming that intense sibling rivalry to form a true brotherhood, that becomes their imprintable defense. That emotional bond is literally the brick and mortar protecting them against the chaotic adult world. And this directly mirrors the third pig's literal physical foundation. Think back to when the wolf took the absolute biggest breath of his life to blow down that third house. What happened? The house did not move, the bricks were too strong, and the cement held them tight. And then, when the wolf tried to be sneaky and come down the chimney, the pigs worked together. They lit a roaring fire, boiled a huge iron pot of water, and sent that wolf running away forever. It's a perfect parallel. Just like a brotherly bond, a solid brick wall mixed with smart, careful preparation stops the ultimate threat right in its tracks. So let's synthesize all these lessons and get to our ultimate takeaways. Whether you are fending off an actual wolf trying to slide down your chimney, or you're desperately trying to stop a corporate villain before a plane takes off, the core principles of survival are exactly the same. First, quick fixes, your straw houses, will always collapse under pressure. Second, success is going to be a wild, turbulent ride. Third, hard work is completely non-negotiable. And finally, unity. The simple idea that together we stand is always, always going to defeat isolation. All of this brings us to what we can firmly define as the architecture of survival. It's this powerful strategic combination of building an unshakable foundation, putting in the hard work like laying down bricks, and forging unified alliances, like choosing brotherhood over petty rivalry. When you combine those two elements, you can withstand almost any external chaos the world decides to throw you. It is a profoundly deep concept, and crazy enough, it's been proven by both a suit-wearing, animated baby and 3 fairy tale pigs. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought as you navigate the turbulent oceans in your own life. When you are facing your next big challenge, whatever your personal wolf or your ticking clock happens to be, are you going to rely on quick straw and rivalry? Or are you going to put in the hard work to build with bricks and stand together? The blueprint is right there in front of us. The choice is yours. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep building those foundations.